Strength and ability of an alpha spirit is rooted in self-determination, of being at cause. Therefore, we find that misappropriating or inappropriately assigning what is cause in our life is one of the ways in which we increasingly come to consider ourselves primarily the effect of others, and even the effect of the universe as a whole. It's quite customary with the human condition to assign cause of ill effects as far away from self as possible. From this, we tend to blame others for how we think and feel. This is not to say there are not many influential factors to our experiences, but ultimately it is self that decides how to think and how to feel. Whenever we incite or inspire an emotional reaction in another, they sometimes tell us that we've caused them to feel this way or that way, and that they are experiencing the effect of our presence. And of course, many factors are likely at play here, but the ability to create a specific emotion, sensation, or state of thought is certainly within the power of an alpha spirit. So, we're going to talk now about creating emotional flows, and that's part of Lesson 2 in Pathway to Ascension, Volume 1. And with objective processing, a seeker can knowingly practice getting a sense of creating or projecting an emotional flow. So when we're talking about creating emotion or creating emotions, we're talking about creating emotional flows. And there are generally, we talk about the alpha spirit, self, the point of view of self, the individual, and we've talked about terminals, any kind of, in this case we'll be practicing with an object, but terminals, anything with mass, anything within our environment, anything that we can associate other concepts and ideas to. So we're going to familiarize the seeker with this practice, with the idea of basically directly considering or treating all energy, communication, and attention lines as a flow, and that's part of what these preliminary practices do. The reason, what we end up treating, what we are treating with systematic processing, is actually our communication flows, various flows of communication that we, and this doesn't just mean talking, but communication, the contact and experience of the material existence, material universe, so much of which is set on automatic. We're dealing with flows, energy flows, and flows are a communication of one point to the next. That's what a flow or a wave, so to speak, is carrying information. Communication is taking place from one point to another point. Whether or not the intended communication at its source point ends up being what happens at the effect or the destination is that's what we're trying to defragment. That's the communication along the zoo line, for example, the beingness and the knowingness and the intention of the alpha spirit, and how it gets jumbled up within the mind system, and then we watch the results of it play out as if everything again is happening on automatic, as if we're participants in this kind of motion picture, movie, drama, adventure, and so to speak. So. With this practice, very simply, look around, choose an object, and then alternate. Make it feel happy and make it feel sad. So, and we don't just mean like flip-flopping real quick, alternate. Get the sense of making it feel happy, get the sense of making it feel sad. And you're doing this is being done by intention. This is a practice also of intention. Although you may not experience a big reality at first on what is taking place, when you practice this, this is actually a practice in directing intention, rather. You don't actually, and by intending the intentional aspect of this process, you don't actually have to say anything. So making it feel happy, you don't have to sit there and tell the chair jokes in order to get the sense of making it feel happy. This is again being done by intention. Or you don't need to scold it to make it feel sad. So you just get the sense of deciding upon and intending the idea or concept very strongly and clearly, and then get the sense of that just being in your presence and with you having that intention, that it's making it happen. And after this is practiced for a while on a specific object, try it on other items in the room. Once you're comfortable with this pair of states, you pull out the beta awareness scale and kind of work on with what resonates there, love and hate or interest and boredom. Practice, give the intention for it to be these various states, and You can move up and down the scale. When you're first practicing this, of course, it's kind of easier to alternate with something that's extreme. So, making it feel happy, making it feel sad, but you could easily work down the scale, the beta awareness scale too, once you kind of get a sense of how to do this. So really though, when we interact with the universe and other life forms in the universe, it's the communication flow, and this flows in both directions, inflow and outflow. These flows and circuits and stuff, this is the type of terminology that we've adopted for our systemology. And so this is, if this seems, if you're just picking this up, because unfortunately we're going to release the video versions of this in, to general public, but you should really go back to the basic course stuff, the Fundamentals of Systemology basic course, to understand a sense of the circuits and flows and how these channels of communication operate before pushing further here. So in systemology, we refer to these individual flows as circuits, therefore circuits between terminals. Self is also a terminal, by the way. So even though we generally refer to terminals as those things out there, self, particularly the physical body, the consideration of the physical body and the viewpoint of the physical body is also a terminal, definitely a physical terminal. So you look around, choose an object, and then get a sense of feeling sorry for the object, and then get a sense of the object feeling sorry for you. And you practice doing this one. This one's good because I think we deal with it later on in the pathway. I know there's a big section in Crystal Clear, one of our workbooks from almost half a decade ago. But we dealt a lot with the handling of grief and sympathy in that directly. And so, you just practice this on the same object for a while, then pick another item, do the same. If you continue it long enough to like an ultimate endpoint, which generally doesn't happen within one practice session, but the ultimate endpoint would just be to, or you could have this on an incremental, increase, but to just get that handle over the reactivity associated with grief and sympathy. And we're not expecting that to be, completely handled through a single pass of this, but and then this process, like we were talking about, the various states on the beta awareness, you could use on the other version. This process, you can do other states such as fear and fearing of the object, having the object, being afraid of you, being angry at the object, having the object feeling angry at you, things like that. Just again to get some practice on this. One of the principal areas of systemology is the study of automated mechanisms and reactivity. In basic terms, this is how systems influence one another. Many systems are essentially dynamic. That means they don't exist in exclusion separate from other systems. They don't exist in just a solid state. They are they're dynamic, ever-changing, depending on the other systems that are actually taking place around them. So, for example, the dynamic system of an ecosystem would be, well, we won't get into all that, but the alpha spirit has the ability to command and control all of its own systems, and the ability to also automate that control as well. And so that's one of the things we've been treating here. While the body does receive its commands from various mind systems, much of what's actually handled by the mind takes place on automatic. It isn't the individual having direct control of the body, or direct control even of what the mind ends up kind of shooting out towards the body, or the clarity of what it's receiving, the impressions it's receiving. We have to trust that, and we know that it's not a clear view. So the entire idea of defragmentation includes assuming control over the reactivity, the response mechanisms, all the automated circuitry that has basically led the mind system to become as convoluted as it is. And a systematic way of handling those tendencies of the human condition that are happening on automatic is to knowingly exaggerate their behavior. This is far easier than invalidating your early efforts, before building up a lot of willpower, actualization, to just stop something altogether. That becomes, when an individual just tries to all of a sudden cease something, cease as in make it stop, then and it doesn't happen, this kind of invalidation of self-determination actually reduces kind of the horsepower that's being applied to the next attempt, or to the general idea of controlling things in general. Again, we are becoming more and more the effect, or considering ourselves more and more the effect of our environment and things being out of our control. So the best way to handle is to exaggerate it, which means you're basically alternating doing it more or doing it less. For example, instead of, if and this works on a physical level. This isn't just something in some systematic processing that only applies to various concepts and ideas. For example, an individual that has physical tendencies that have been set on automatic, a shaking leg, for example, that when nervousness happens, they have a tendency to do that. And the forced stopping of it, it sometimes invalidates, because again, it just kind of starts happening. So what an individual would do would be to practice doing it more and doing it less, and doing it more and doing it less, and basically getting more of a sense of having control over that behavioral, that observable, outcome of what's taking place with the body that's under your control. You do this on an incremental basis. Again, we're not trying to leap to the apex of the mountain in one bound here. Leaps and bounds. It's this is structured on tiers, so that you can work through the various the various levels of which you're going to be able to more effectively execute each of the levels. So in this example, we're going to treat, I gave you kind of a physical example, but in the example that we might more commonly see in processing, we're going to treat something that an individual has on automatic or whatever. You can do this with reactive stuff, and this is how we kind of destimulate imprints and stuff and associative knowledge. But we want to, again, we're doing just practice here at level 0 to get a sense of these kind of processes. So we're just going to take, in this case, the PCL is close your eyes, what are you looking at? And what, some individuals, they're going to see a specific mental image, a visual picture, or like energy bursts, or even some kind of blackness or an intense blackness when they close their eyes. And this seems, to occur almost automatically. And so then the next PCL is to make a duplicate copy of what you see, right next to it. And however a seeker manages this action, for themselves is success. There's no criteria for how you do it. You're again working by imagine and intention in the beginning. Just even to give one might do a holographic duplicate, or perhaps they imagine a screen as a background to place a copy in. At first with these things, we're really only concerned with getting a sense of this, even if a seeker at first has difficulty with creating vivid mental images. But just even a sense of it's okay. Once a single copy of whatever is seen is made next to it, then make another duplicate copy on the other side. Now make more copies to the right and to the left. Don't limit the space to a linear horizon just in front of you. Make more copies above your head, below your feet, behind you, and so forth. And then continue with the next process. Close your eyes. What are you looking at? Make a mental image copy of it. Now change its color, turn it, and insert color here. Whatever the color quality already is, turn it to something else. And you can also, in between the cycles, full cycles of doing this process, you also want to open your eyes, look around your environment, spot, notice specific points about them, and so forth, alternating working with these purely mental visualization exercises with, alternate doing full cycles of that to doing full cycles of things that with eyes open, physical environment. You'll find your gains doing it, alternating that way, remain more solid and improve much quicker than grinding on one or the other. So We've already mentioned association. A large amount of our associative knowledge is made up of automatic and reactive mental imagery that basically represents the terminal or mass that we most associate with a concept or a piece of data. And oftentimes this really restricts us from considering a wider scope or range of potential possibilities of what we're actually going to do or what we can create or various levels of beingness. This automation really restricts our free thought and our free creative ability. And there's another phenomenon that we've observed in systemology, which is referred to as the compulsively created mental image. And this is otherwise, some students at the Mardukite Academy have referred to it as like a stock picture. And it's one that's constantly brought to mind or unknowingly created outside of or without one's own self-determination. And most individuals usually have a few of these. This is kind of like what we mean by like imprints of specific incidents and past experiences. Usually if it's a stuck image or what they consider a stuck picture, it should really be called the compulsively created picture rather than a stuck picture, but it's usually not of something pleasant. So for example, if you're worried about something, there's often a mental image representing what you're worried about, and it's kind of stuck in your mind or seems to be closer to you or kind of overwhelming you that inhibits your ability to think or you feel like you're being closed in on it. So, whatever it is you're worrying about or what you can't stop thinking about. So the systematic solution is to make many copies of the stock picture. First changing its color and then altering the entire nature of the scenery, one part or the other. We're not trying to dilute ourselves. What we're trying to do is demonstrate having control over mental image pictures, over the things that we've set on automatic. By changing its color, you are creating the image. You are creating it. You are not just dealing with a reactive. You've made a copy of whatever was reactive, and then to bona fide that you've actually made that copy that is your mental image creation, you have the ability to, of course, manipulate and change its color and do various things with it. So, and then finally we'll do one more here. Look around the room and spot an object. What thought comes to mind? Make a duplicate copy of that thought, make another copy, make many copies, thinking it many times, and alternate making the thought louder and quieter. And having the nature and intensity of thoughts under your control is going to assist in better handling those aspects and items we'd rather not confront. So,
The Joshua Free Imprint, JFI Publications, in conjunction with Mardukite Academy and the Systemology Society, present the single greatest breakthrough of the 21st century for all humanity. The perfection of a new standard systemology, a complete map for the way out from the bottom to the top, and your key to being an ascended master in this lifetime. Everything you need is contained in 3 progressive, self-guiding courses: the Fundamentals of Systemology Basic Course, the Pathway to Ascension Professional Course, and the Keys to the Kingdom Advanced Training Course. And each should be studied and applied in their intended sequence and order as displayed in this video. All 3 courses combined are available as 5 standard hardcover volumes, but also as 33 installments, since each single course lesson is also available individually as a pocket-sized manual. The Fundamentals of Systemology Basic Course includes Being More Than Human, Realities in Agreement, Windows to Experience, Ancient Systemology, A History of Systemology, and Systemology Processing. The Pathway to Ascension Professional Course, including processing levels 0 through 6, includes in Volume 1, Increasing Awareness, Thought and Emotion, Clear Communication, Handling Humanity, Free Your Spirit, Escaping Spirit Traps, Eliminating Barriers, and Conquest of Illusion. The Pathway to Ascension Volume 2 includes Confronting the Past, Lifting the Veils, Spiritual Implants, Games and Universes, Spiritual Energy, Spiritual Machinery, The Arcs of Infinity, and Alpha Thought. The Keys to the Kingdom AT Advanced Training Course for Processing Level 7 in Volume 1 includes The Secret of Universes, Games, Goals, and Purposes, The Jewel of Knowledge, Implanted Universes, and the supplementals Systemology Biofeedback and Systemology Procedures. The Keys to the Kingdom AT Advanced Training Course for Processing Level 8 in Volume 2 includes Entities and Fragments, Spiritual Perception, Mastering Ascension, Advancing Systemology, and the AT Supplement Systemology Piloting. All titles are available from your favorite bookseller. Explore new standard systemology today, and may you never be the same.